Welcome in, esteemed guests. I'm your host Animatic, and today is the day where I shall conquer my fears and face frame-by-frame animation once and for all. Hold that thought. Why? What happened? Is that Carter again? What do you mean again? It's been a while since I animated him. That was a coincidence. You're only making both of us look worse. Well, that's not the point of the video, and plus Carter looks cool, so what about it? So the song I picked out for this animation meme was Punk Tactics by Joey Valence and Bray, which is popular among animators, but I wouldn't call it a trend since everyone's kinda doing their own thing and there isn't a formula to follow. But that's besides the point. The thing I liked about this song is how retro and quick-paced it feels, which would quite fit a snappier animation style with some few in-betweens, which made the challenge way easier to tackle than choosing a slow and graceful song which would probably deplete my sanity way faster. And from my initial concept of making a retro-styled animation, I managed to brainstorm a more interesting way to make the intro. Because sure, people fighting in a rooftop, I've definitely never done such a concept before, but now I had the extra card of making it retro. So I had a lot of fun as well as a lot of practice with making more stylized and cartoony buildings for the background, making them all face the one rooftop the fight is about to happen in. Most of my time spent in this frame was during the composition and the background, so I left actually adding the people for last. So don't look too closely at any of them. They're goofy looking. After the establishing shot, it was time for a close-up at both of our main characters getting ready for battle, starting with Carter. I reused the buildings in the back for the close-up backgrounds and then reused the new buildings again at Aloha's turn, so they look like a consistent area rather than two entirely different drawings. Those copy-pasting shenanigans did mess up some of the layers, which I had to go fix manually, so if you see me going back and forth between frames, that's why. For some reason I have this very specific curse of suddenly deciding to go experimental whenever I start a big project like this animation. So aside from jumping to line art from the very simple sketch I had, something that will keep happening in this video, you may have noticed that the way I draw faces and eyes have changed a little bit. Mostly that now they're no longer a black line and actually have color, which I did like the look of. Now that Carter's finished, give it up for extras 1 and 2. Honestly, I was just throwing random character design ideas at these guys until they didn't look like Slender Man anymore, but this guy did remind me of Ace from Bungo Stray Dogs for whatever that's worth. With Carter's side done, it's time to move on to Aloha, who still doesn't have an official design or character sheet. All of her drawings for this project had this one frame from a short I did the other day as reference, and that's it. That being said, I wanted her clothes to have a pretty specific silhouette so she could stand out from Carter during this frame, which I just didn't use in the final project. But hey, through this process I found out that baggy pants really suit her, so I might keep them in the final design. Again, some random character design elements for the extras, and this scene is done. And now for the real star of the show, the intro animated frame by frame. While I did prepare for this through learning the fundamentals and stuff, I have to say I went in pretty blindly. But hey, you learn with practice, am I right? I wanted to use this project to test out some different ways to approach frame by frame, so I actually used different techniques for these two. Carter's position doesn't change that much from his initial pose, so I drew all of his body parts separately and adapted them to each keyframe I had planned. Kinda like what you do with Tweening. Or at least that was my intention until I realized that the sleeve over his shoulder would clip very badly with his arm during that one specific pose. So I did have to redraw his torso for that. Meanwhile, Aloha's movement is way more varied and open, with her switching her heavy bat into attack mode, so all of her keyframes were drawn as a full separate thing. Plus, I managed to figure out how to import audio into Krita to time the frames correctly, so there will be a lot of back and forth between frames, especially during the beginning. And guess what? Even after believing I timed everything correctly, I still had to change the speed of the animation during editing. Welcome to the creative process, baby! And as is usual in these kinds of projects, I ran into problems. The hook into the main chorus I had planned since I was first brainstorming the idea involved the word punk showing up between the characters and the background. So you should be able to imagine my despair when I found out that Krita doesn't export animations with transparent backgrounds. We're back at chroma key territory! Yay! I'm having flashbacks. Once again, we're jumping straight to line art from very simple sketches because I'm lazy and didn't want to make a second sketch pass. Aside from that, everything else went surprisingly smoothly. I can't tell you which technique I used was better because due to my lack of practice, they both had their ups and downs. Carter looks a bit distorted in some frames and Aloha looks a bit inconsistent in others, but I promised myself I wouldn't get caught up on the details or else this meme probably wouldn't see the light of day, so oh well. And to you, longtime viewer who I really appreciate and is probably side-eyeing me through this whole video, I admit it, I am a liar. Yes, I never tackled animation with my current more detailed art style or with the fundamentals in mind, but I have made animations a couple years ago with the pure power of freestyle. But I'm still calling this my first time because I took on this challenge with a more technical perspective, and also because these were from so long ago I don't even remember how I made them. I guess it's just the magic of being a beginner artist. And with all that done, the frame-by-frame section of the video is finished. Time to go back to my comfort zone. This comfort zone has a name and it's called Tweening. I can't really say that I'm the best at it, or that CapCut is the best program to animate in, but hey, at least I have more experience in that than in frame-by-frame. If the intro was inspired by retro cartoons, the chorus takes some vague inspiration from retro comic books, which means bold fonts all the way and bright colors. As for the characters themselves, I decided I should simply continue with what I had going on in the intro, so Illua with a bat and Carter wielding no weapons except for his own hands, as well as lightning powers that I simply added as a sticker because animating special effects feel like a whole different field that I didn't want to deal with. Probably because of his lack of weapon or specific battle pose, Carter ended up looking way less aggressive than Illua, which is definitely something I'll keep in mind in case of a similar style animation in the future. But for now, the pose does what it needs to do, so I'm not particularly upset. Aside from that, the process went pretty smoothly for both Illua and Carter, so let's move on to editing and the doodles. So, editing time it is. This one had a lot of stuff going on, so if the media player feels a bit laggy, it's because it really is. Especially during the parts with still images, I focused a lot on adding movement so they don't look too stiff, even during the short screen time they had. I also did that during the frame-by-frame sequence by adding a slow zoom that picks up once we start nearing the chorus. It's kinda difficult to notice, but I also added a filter over the intro to make it look like it's being played on an old TV screen. I was a bit scared of accidentally letting that filter take away the readability of what's going on, so it ended up looking very subtle. This filter and the TV vibe all go away during the chorus, where I wanted to lean into the fact that this is an animation meme, so this part of the video looks way more abstract. I don't usually struggle during the tweening process, but on this one I kinda forgot what I was meant to be doing. It took me a while to figure out how to make the movement both look natural and match the song, but I think I figured it out eventually. That's just how it is, sometimes you forget stuff. To add some more continuity and make it so there's an actual story being told in this video, I added some doodles that give a little bit more context to the flashy cool animation meme stuff. First off, we have some drawings of Illua and Carter actually fighting the extras we established during the intro. I made them look very cartoony and goofy so it matches the comic book style and gives the whole scene a more lighthearted vibe. And during the intermission and the outro, we have some comic panels that tie everything that's happening together. The first one shows the reason for repeating the chorus being that the defeated extras managed to ask for reinforcement, even though they're technically fighting the same guys at the second chorus. Meanwhile, the outro shows Illua sending a message in a group chat to give the impression that they were fighting in that area for a very specific mission. What was that mission, you may ask? I don't know, ask them! So yeah, it's all pretty much in the void in terms of lore, but I feel like it's a good step into adding some storytelling in my animation memes. And with all that said and done, we have a beautifully copyrighted animation meme. I hope talking over the original slightly distorted audio like this doesn't sound too scummy, because that's what I'm doing right now. I was planning on using this part of the video as a hook to throw the YouTube like and subscribe lingo, but we still have a long way to go through the video, so that's going to stay at the end. Oh dear. I already yapped about this video for like 7 minutes. I don't even know what to add anymore. I hope you think they're cool, so oh, my YouTube lingo audio is here. Okay, thanks, bye! Thanks for watching. Remember to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing if you enjoyed the content, and until we meet again.